Wednesday night, the castaways of Survivor, David vs. Goliath, competed as tribes for the final time this season. The struggling Jabeni tribe returned to tribal council with their minds, and though Angelina Keeley was in the hot seat for her deceptive behavior, in the end Mike White managed to get Nick Wilson to go against his word to Lursa Torres Velez instead of sending another original Goliath home. As we look ahead to next week's merge episode, the biggest question is how the David vs. Goliath theme plays out once they're all together. Because of Mike's decision to keep Angelina, the Goliaths hold a 7-6 advantage over the Davids, but we've already seen players from both sides jump ship. With that in mind, our second set of power rankings this season is divided into what we see as the three main blocks of players still standing. At the top is a group of men composed of both Davids and Goliaths. Next is the remaining Davids playing relatively low-key games, and at the bottom are the other Goliaths coming off too competitive too early. Agree or disagree with my power rankings? Comment with your own below, and be sure to sound off about what I'm wrong about. 1. Christian Hubitsky, no change. 2. Nick Wilson, no change. 3. Mike White, no change. 4. John Hennigan, no change. 5. Dan Rengering, up 1. There are a number of factors leading me to believe that we're going to see a new super alliance form in the coming weeks. At the merge, original allies Christian and Nick Mason-Dixon will come back together, but this time they'll each bring a new set of allies with them. Christian has formed the unofficial Brochacho alliance. It's actually more like a bond, I'd say, with John and Dan during their time at TV, and Nick formed the Rockstars with Mike over at Jabeni. I'm pretty confident that Christian, Nick, Mike and John will come together smoothly, but that leaves Dan as the odd man out. Prior to the tribal swap, Dan was working closely with both Kara and Allison, but the three of them were split evenly across the three new tribes, so there's no telling how their bond will play out. What keeps Dan in a better position is twofold. He has two idols. The girls only know about the first one, and Allison has already started the wheels going in an anti-Dan campaign. Something tells me that she'll come out on the short end of that play though, not him. What's really working in the favor of this group is that on one side you have Christian and Nick, who can maintain a sense of loyalty to the unimposing Davids still in the game, forming a pretty formidable block of 6 voters. Then there's Mike, John and Dan, who even if they want to remain Goliath strong, know that both Mike himself and Alec already turned on the Goliaths, so their desire to work with the other Goliaths may not be that strong. The only bit left to be learned is whether or not Christian and Nick have the ability to bring their two-side alliances together in order to form, what should we call it, Rockstars. Dixon, 6. Gabby Pascuzzi, up 6-7. Davey Rickenbacker, down 28. Elizabeth Olsen, down 19. Carl Boudreau, down 1 because there has already been much ado about some Goliaths, Mike and Alec, turning prematurely on their own tribe. The Davids are looking a bit stronger headed into the merge. Basically the cracks are already there for Goliaths, and so the Davids will know exactly where to apply the pressure. Sitting very pretty in the middle are these 4 Davids that no one in the game has called out as a threat yet. Gabby I rank at the top of the group because she is closest to Christian, my overall top pick. Davey is next because he has a hidden immunity idol, followed by Elizabeth, who is getting a prime edit, and rounded out by Carl, who has little to no edit whatsoever, despite being one of the few players with a hidden advantage, albeit a pretty weak one. Of all these players, Gabby is the one most likely to be a GOAT, the player that no one sees as a threat and drags to the end because they believe she has no chance of winning. Meanwhile, I can see a point where the other 3 become big enough threats to be targeted, and or they just become the next to go because they are lowest on the totem pole. See Survivor Medevacs. See all 15 medical evacuations through the years, from Michael Skupin to Pat Cusick. 10. Kara K, up 511. Alec Merlino, up 312. Allison Raybold, down 213. Angelina Keeley, down 4. If I'm reading the edit correctly at all, I'd say none of these 4 have even an ounce of a chance at winning the game. Angelina is by far in the weakest position because she's playing way too hard. She got through the last elimination by the skin of her teeth, and the only reason she was on the chopping block in the first place was because of her own unforced errors. Angelina is strategizing all over the place, and the previews for the merge episode suggest she's up to more of the same next week. If she stirs up too much about getting Christian out, she's going to force John, Dan and Mike to make a decision between Goliaths or a cross-tribe alliance, and, well, we already know which way I think they'll go. Kara, Alec, and Allison don't have bad edits necessarily, but they're all running out of allies and, in turn, viable paths to the win. The split from their original ally Dan left Kara and Allison struggling to find new allies. Kara had a tough time seeing eye to eye with Alec, who dumbly was the first Goliath to vote one of his own out, and Allison is prematurely plotting against Dan. Alec, like Angelina, deserves credit for his willingness to play the game hard, but unfortunately, he's going to be too little too late when he tries to build the bridge to the Davids, not knowing that John, Dan and Mike already claimed those spots. Be sure to make your predictions to influence our reality TV racetrack odds. You can keep changing your predictions until just before the next live episode airs on CBS. You'll compete to win a spot on our leaderboard and eternal bragging rights. See our contest rules and sound off with other fans in our reality TV forum. Read more Gold Derby Entertainment news.